Hi, everybody. Welcome to season 3 of What's IG and Crashing On. I'm Karen Walby Solomon, and I'm your host. And we're here to talk about what's hot in pop culture. Welcome to episode 10 of season 3 of What's IG and Crashing On. It's me, Karen, and I'm joined by my old friend, Leanne Phillipson. How are you doing, my girl? Why did I forget your surname for a second? But okay.
Did you want to say Woodley?
I thought your surname was Lakshmi for a second.
YOLO, go with it. Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Just before the call, like we were talking about, the news just broke this morning, which is going to be it's probably going to be a couple of days old by the time this episode comes out. But that Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello
Cabello.
have Camila Caramello have called it quits. And Shay,
I mean, they were together for quite a while. It was more than 2 years,
yeah, well, it's
roughly two
before the
years.
I have no concept of time anymore. So it was it was BP before pandemic. So they got, because remember they used to do those weird making out sessions on Instagram, and it was disgusting. And then people were complaining about it, and then they did it more weird because they're like, "Oh, we heard you guys didn't like our kissing," and then they started like kissing more. Oh wait, I should probably say that today on the episode we are joined by we have an interview with Riaad Moosa. Like I'm just like chatting away here, not even doing like the proper protocol of what we're supposed to do. But we have the legend, the comedy legend, or one of the comedy legends. Like I don't want to offend anybody else, but Riaad Moosa is on the show today to talk about his new movie, New Material. Um I was very excited because I was a big fan of his. Like, um, y'all know I'm a bit of a comedy nerd, so like I was very excited to chat to him, and it was a very like interesting conversation. We
Mm-hmm.
spoke about like his journey in comedy, like doing comedy during the pandemic, but he also spoke quite a bit. Like, I'm not going to spoil because I know Leanne, you're gonna want to tell you this, you're gonna want to know more, but you have to listen to the interview. Um, he spoke about like the sort of like the wokeness in comedy, and
Ooh,
how it's like there's all this conversation about how you have to be careful about what you speak about. He's like, for South African comedians, they've always had to be like that, especially like black, Indian, and colored comedians, because
mm,
they had to you had to be you had to be sensitive around people's race, people's religion, and that sort of thing,
yeah.
and you make your comedy through that. So this is nothing new for them,
That's such an
and it's
interesting take.
yeah, it is. Like the way he spoke about, like, especially the few like POC comedians that came up like in the late 90s or the mid 90s, like just after apartheid, coming
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that space after like it was dominated by white comedians who just did whatever the fuck they wanted to. And
yeah.
now they had to kind of take into consider, like, now they also had to like take into consideration, there's certain things you can't say. But yeah, it was very interesting, and we spoke about the movie, and he was really funny. Like, I was crying at the end of it. And if there's any pauses where I'm like laughing and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know why Karen is laughing, like he was doing something funny with his face, or he was like maneuvering, like acting out certain things, and that's what I was doing. So if I sound like a fool, it's for no reason other than it was extremely funny. Um, but yeah, that's what we have coming up on the show. Um, but for now, of course, we must talk about the relationships. I mean, that's what we're here for. Camilla and Sean
What's
broke up,
going on?
and like, I mean, I'm not the biggest Camilla Caramello fan, but I don't know. I kind of like them together. Like, I mean, I like Sean. I do like him. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend I don't. Um, I do like him. I like his music. But that Senorita music video, and I know that this is a controversial take, but that music
Mm-hmm.
video was extremely hot, and I thought the two of them looked so good together, and they were friends for so long, and according to their statement, they're gonna stay as friends. So
Yeah.
you know, cute
I mean,
shame.
I felt like I think that happens sometimes in relationships. Sometimes you find especially I suppose if it's of the, well, no, sometimes you just find people that you vibe and you gel with, and then you assume it has to be romantic, and maybe
Mm,
sometimes it doesn't always need to be romantic.
mm,
I'm just like, what are they gonna do with their dog's Instagram? Like, are they sharing custody? Are they gonna? Because they like apparently started a whole Instagram for their dog that they were taking on pandemic walks and stuff. So yeah, I'm like, it's. I'll be honest, I never really paid attention to them. They were very like on the periphery.
mm.
So like certain things would kind of penetrate through where I would kind of hear about them, but I never really paid attention to their story or their arc. I just like I remember them being around for a while, like as you said through the
Mm.
pandemic, seeing stuff about them. So yeah,
And then our last week's couple, Kim and Pete, were spotted at Pete's birthday party. I think this
I
is your
mean
favorite couple, Leanne. Like I've never seen you so
they do
excited over
bring
a
me.
celebrity couple.
I know I don't really get like involved in all of this stuff, but I am. I think what do you call parasocial? I think I'm forming like a parasocial bond with Pete Davidson, clearly because now I'm consuming so much Pete content. And so I'm like way too invested in this whole scenario. And I don't necessarily think it's just because it's Kim K, although that
Mm,
does add a certain level of charm and appeal. I think it's just because like I remember reading a thing and they were talking about how smart Pete is at navigating fame and navigating celebrity, and the fact that I suppose he is a lot of chaotic energy, but not enough people are giving him credit for the way he's leveraging celebrity to grow his brand or to be a brand. And
mm.
so I think just from like a purely social experiment, psychological experiment, just watching him as he's moving through these certain circles and phases and whatever is fascinating. Like I'm hooked on that storyline. So that's where my excitement comes from.
Did you see that Three Little Virgins skit or Three Virgins? I can't remember skit that he did on SNL last week.
Was that the one with Taylor Swift?
Yeah, it was like a music video vibe.
Yes, I saw snippets of it. I didn't actually watch the whole thing.
So funny. You should go watch the whole thing. It is hilarious. It's so well done. No. He's a funny. He's a cool guy. Talking about Taylor Swift.
This
This
was
week,
all too much
this week,
content.
this
My
week,
For You page is a
she,
mess.
yeah, no, she's just like TikTok is just Taylor talk now. I
Yeah.
This week she released the re-release. She released the re-release. Pizza Piper picked up pickle peppers, of her album Red, and she with extra tracks that was from the vault, which I actually really like. I'm like,
Mm,
this is how she originally conceptualized her album, and if there's and obviously the record labels like probably like these are too much songs, cut these songs
mm,
out, and whatever. And I like the idea of artists giving the album some as many or as few songs as they would like it to be. Anyway,
yes.
not the point. And then she released a short film based on a 10-minute version of a song All Too Well, which was written and directed by her. And then there was a music video um, for her other song, directed
Corrected. Yep. Blake
by
Lively.
Blake Lively. So it was just, and she did she performed the All Too Well 10-minute version on SNL with the movie showing in the background, and that's the longest performance they've ever had in SNL. Like, yeah, she's longer than like Paul McCartney and like the Rolling Stones and stuff. So it was a lot. This she basically owned this week. It was Taylor Swift
Yeah. She's trying
forever.
to milk it though. I see she released like the sad version of All Too Well, like an acoustic what
You
what?
see a
I was
happy
like, no
version of
man.
All Too Well.
Yes. I was like, what do you mean a sad version? The song is sad. This is so unnecessary. It's like black and white and some music. Anyway. So yes, no, she is definitely riding the wave of this album. And I mean I'm here for it. This is how you know it's terrible. I was thinking about it this morning. Because my favorite, obviously, all too well, I went in deep with listening to the 10 minute and then watching the short film a couple of times. But you can tell I'm in a happy relationship because my favorite song was like Stay. It's like, damn it, I can't feel the heartbreak. Anyway,
No, it is. I'm just like, I hope she rests after this because I mean, girl is busy, and I know she's probably gonna be working. I think what she wants to do is get out her re-releases as soon as possible, so
Mm,
that people aren't streaming her old albums. That they'll be only streaming the new versions of
her
her
new
songs,
stuff.
which means that the money will not go to Scooter Braun and all of them, it will go to her.
Yes.
So I think I can see she's very focused on that. But it's like, oh girl, self care, relax, like
Take a
take
break
him.
in
Like I hope she
between.
takes. And I know she's very ambitious. And I watched the documentary, and she's all about working,
Mm,
working, working. But like, I hope she takes a year or two off after she's done with the re-releases. Maybe she writes some new music during that time. But just take a break. Don't do tours. Don't
yeah.
do all that stuff. Get married if she isn't already married. I don't know. um get married, like, to enjoy her time with her husband, maybe follow him around to some movie sets, like, just relax. I mean, if that is what she wants to do, I'm not going to tell her to do it if she doesn't want to do it, but I mean, I'm like, yo girl, you're working so hard and you're creating such good products. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to mention names, but I've listened to some re-releases of other musicians
Artist.
who with rights issues, and they just didn't like hit as hard as the originals. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this about me, and I've probably spoken about it on the show before, but I've been a fan of Taylor Swift, like, die hard from the beginning. I've actually cooled down a lot. um Leanne is nodding, please note Leanne is nodding. um but Red wasn't one of my favorite albums of hers. Like, I enjoyed it well
Get
enough. There
you.
were certain songs that I liked, but it didn't like hit for me like it hit now. Maybe it's because I'm older, but I also think that the album is better now than it was back then. And
No, I
that,
think, as you say, with people re-recording the music and different, slightly different take. Like I'm one of those people that sings along, and I can't really
mm,
sing, but I'm very good at mimicking. So I normally hit like I can hit where they're doing it. And normally when artists re-record, it never sounds the same because when I'm singing it, I'm like, you're not matching what I'm singing because I'm singing the original.
mm,
And she made it sound almost exactly the same but better, and I don't know how
mm,
she did that, which is really, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm with you for she needs to rest and look after herself, but I need her to release 1989 first
yeah,
because that was
it's
my
definitely
album.
next
Like
up.
that was my favorite. So yeah, after that I'm like, then you can take a break because I
Did
have
you see my
folklore.
theory on Twitter as
No,
to what
tell
she's
me.
doing? So when she went on SNL,
Hmm.
she brought like a posse with her. Selena
Yes,
Gomez was there. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were there.
yes, the
Um,
girl squad,
Cara Delevingne was there. Yeah, Sadie Sink, who's actually, what I've heard, is dating Joe
younger
Alwyn,
brother.
her younger brother. Um, who else was there? There were, oh, Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas was there. Like, there was a
Hmm.
lot of friends there, and I'm like, who brings all these people with to SNL? Although I know, like, Cara Delevingne, she goes to watch SNL a lot. But anyway, I'm like, this is like a squad, and I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe she's the a whole part of the marketing for 1989 was the girl squad that she had. And
Yes.
sometimes when I look back at it, I'm like, Zendaya was in that in that Bad Blood music video. Like,
Oh
random
yes.
people, man. Like, I'm like, hmm? But anyway, back to the story. And a lot of like Victoria's Secret models. Anyway, so all these friends were there, and I was like, I wonder if she's like kind of bringing that back to go with the marketing of 1989. But I
Yeah.
mean, that could also just be like me putting my little tinfoil hat on
Well,
and
no, I
just
think also
creating stories.
the fact that she already dropped Wildest Dreams means
Mm.
she's definitely been in studio.
Yeah,
Like,
but that was because it's trending on TikTok. That's why she dropped it. She's like, y'all not gonna give that money away. No, that's mine. That's mine. Use the correct version, please. Girl, no, no, no. Girl knows what she's doing. Um, but yeah. No, I'm excited. I enjoyed this. Yes, like, I do think like the fans get a little bit childish with the like the bullying of the men. I'm like, this has
Yeah.
been 10 years. Take Tylenol.
Johnny
Do we
Depp
need to
getting
go on?
not Johnny
Yeah.
Depp. What the hell?
John Mayer. But okay,
John
John
Mayer
Mayer.
getting
I
death threats is a bit extreme. And I mean, if you watch the interview she did with, I think it was Seth
Seth Meyers.
Meyers,
Yeah.
she kind of was like, she knows, she's always watching the fan theories, and I think what she's done
Mm,
with this album is play into fan theories,
yeah.
which kind of perpetuates the cycle. Because I had a weird moment where I was like, is it fair that she's doing all of this 10 years later, like poor Jake and Maggie and the rest of the family or whatever?
Mm,
But then I was like, well, actually, if you pay attention, like she has said, like it's just she's taken what it is and turned it into something for the fans. She's playing to the fans. It's not
mm,
necessarily about her having this whole vendetta or negativity thing behind it, you know? So I feel like,
mm.
yeah, her
But I
fans
mean,
need to
the
calm
thing is,
down though.
yeah, but the thing is also like, she also knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there is this, I do agree that, maybe she's just, going with the narrative, but then she also needs to rein in the
She needs to be
narrative because she
more
has the power
overt
to do that.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because she has the power to do that, and she should, say like this is not okay, or
Yeah.
because I mean the fans will listen to her. Um, and I think sometimes she uses the bad side as well, which is a problem I've had with her for a while now. But anyway, let's get back into the good times and go into our interview with Riaad Moosa. So guys, um please, he's so funny, like, and I really enjoyed Material One, so I'm sure this film is excellent too. So here's our interview with Riaad Moosa. Hi Riaad, welcome to What's IGN Crashing On. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Of course, this is amazing. It's amazing to have like you on the show. Like, we are so excited, and thank
I'm
you so
amazed to be here. Thank you.
so so tell me, like, how's things been with you? How's like the pandemic affected like your career and that sort of thing?
Well, the pandemic's been fun. It's been amazing. Everybody's enjoyed it so much. There's no mental health issues, no physical health issues. Everybody's just ecstatic. No, it's been hectic. But I always like to, look at the bright side of things, look for the glimmers of hope, or the potential for positive development from chaos or negative experiences. So obviously at the beginning of last year, it was quite a heavy thing, man, because all the shows were cancelled, right? All the shows, gatherings gone, just like that. So my income was gone, right? And people used to say, obviously, no, but Riaad, you're a medical doctor. At least you have medicine to fall back on, Yeah, I've got a medical degree, but I haven't done medicine for almost 20 years, so I don't remember anything. So how about that for timing? Right? Middle of a global pandemic, all my gigs are cancelled for my new career or my current career. I have a medical degree, but I remember nothing. Right? Like, so that's actually very frustrating. I actually decide to engage with the virtual world more than a lot of other comedians. I try to set myself up with, my home studio so I could perform and do shows from home. The only problem with that is there's no laughs. You
I
can't
was
really
just
hear
about to
laughter.
ask that. That's like was my next question. I was like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's not. First of all, you have to go through all the painstaking process of trying various technical things, and you settle upon the reality that you knew initially that, this is it can't work if the audio is, or it's a different thing. It's not stand-up comedy. And having come to the realization it's not stand-up comedy, it's something alternative, but there's a potential for doing like something that can fulfill a need at the same time, but realizing it can't be stand-up comedy yet. When the tech like potentially meets that, then I guess we could be closer to it. Like, for example, when we hit the metaverse era, where we can all meet in a virtual environment, then potentially, it could feel that way. But at the moment, there are things that work. So, for example, like on Zoom, you can spotlight a screen. So, for example, if I'm doing a show on Zoom, I can spotlight a screen. And then my screen still takes precedence. I've got lights, I've got a bit of, I've got my mic stand over here. It still creates a bit of a production value experience for the people. Usually in corporates I perform for, they have just their corporate or the company meeting or it's awards function, and I still come in with a bit of pizzazz. I can play a video to hype things up. Everything works. I can engage with the comment section. That works fine. So instead of I get lol, okay, and that's not the same because people type LOL and they don't even have the decency to laugh out loud for real. This is what they do,
People really
and
type that.
I do it too.
Do they type that in
No, people type yes. You engage with the comment section. So a lot of times. So for example, like we talking on Zoom now. When you have multiple people, sometimes there's a whole lot of things going on in the background. The structure of Zoom is such that if I were to do a live show, it would be like handing a microphone out to every person in the audience. So you will hear things like sometimes like, Mohammed, just rub this ointment in between my toes, man. Like remind me to get my coated tomorrow, right? This is people aren't aware of what's going on, and it's it's very distracting because I don't have the authority. So the alternative is to cut all the mics off, right? And then I'm a comedian who's not hearing any laughter, right? And essentially that's swimming with no water. That's like, it's the weirdest thing. And I got the best tech. It's like I got my swimming cap on, I got my goggles, my Speedo, I'm oiled up, but I'm just like a doos in an empty swimming pool. Just, like you feel like an idiot because you don't hear any laughs. But it can work. It works fine if I engage with the comment section, right? And people are at least, showing me that they're into it. They put up gifs, emojis, they're laughing. So I know it works. I know I'm okay, I'm doing well. But that's only with material that I know works. Right? So I know this is funny stuff and I perform it and I'm just acting like I'm hearing the laughter in my head. And it's all fine, I create that reality. And as long as I see people engaging with it, that's cool, But in working out like the quality of new jokes, that's still, I need an audience because some people may find things funny. So I can't just tell it to one person or another person. I gotta react to it and rate the quality of the joke based on the audience as an organism. So that requires me to perform to bodies of people. And when everybody is separate, right? Also, people don't laugh as loud because laughter actually is a social behavior. You are 8 times more likely to laugh when you are with people than if you're on your own. And it's not like you're not finding the thing funny. It's just laughter, the reality of the act of laughing as a cue from an evolutionary perspective, right? To show a non-threatening, jovial, comfortable, stress-free cue to other people. That's what it's there for. And that's why it works better So laughter is contagious, but so is COVID. So um, that's why we had to do like stand up like this, and I I'm getting used to the platform, but what I'm trying to build on now is to create potentially a hybrid show. So to get a situation where I have my own maybe comedy club, but I invite people on. I have a smaller audience, but then I can stream that show out live.
Oh, okay.
Right, so that's the aim, you know. I'm still working within, you know, I want to retain the live feel, but at the same time also bring in this like experience that I had over the past year and a half, right, where I'm streaming that experience out live to people regularly. But that requires me to do the development of the infrastructure myself, you know, because this is not something that everybody is doing. A lot of people are playing with that, but I'm like, I have to develop it for myself so it's easy. That's the whole thing. I don't want to have a whole hullabaloo. Now I have to work out all these things. I must have everything planned and ready in a bag. Even if I do a virtual show from somewhere else, I must have everything in a bag now. I'm going to have do a virtual show. Even if I'm doing a live show in the afternoon, I'll fit in a virtual show earlier on at any time. That's the potential for this. Or I can perform a virtual show for overseas audience, you know. This is the whole aim, and it just must have a good production value. At the moment, right, I don't think I've hit the sweet spot in offering people something that works well online. But I think I'm very close to it because I've had like experiences online that's been absolutely euphoric. Okay, wait, that came out wrong. I have experiences online that is ecstatic and euphoric. That can be misinterpreted in a different way. I don't mean it like that.
I was like, I didn't know where you were going, and I was like, oh, okay,
Yes.
okay.
No, I mean like
Yes.
the shows, the stand-up shows. You know, not anything that you'll have to erase your browser history afterwards. Okay, right. Okay. Now I'm a middle-aged man. This is a problem apparently. Okay, we're carrying on too much with this line of thinking and talk. Let's move on. Right. So I'm trying to, you know, play with the medium and hopefully, you know, by the end of next year, I can have something that's, you know, it's a hybrid model and it's actually something people can enjoy.
But it's also like, have you not noticed that it's caused like comedians, like not just yourself, to sort of, before you guys were just doing like live performances, and now your work is being seen by people who might not have gone to your show, who might not be in the same city or the same country or something like that. Just open up your audience so much more. Is that something you've noticed?
Yes, I do, but it's opened up the audience not specifically in the art of stand-up. So I'm coming from a sort of an older school perspective where I can't really play as heavily in the social media world as a person who's younger without like a family. Unless I sort of bring my family into it, and it becomes very sort of, social media is very it's labor intensive because also in terms of the way in which they advise how often you have to post and all of these things. I think people are misguided in that regard because they're not taking mental health issues into account, and they're not taking a lot of things. They're just looking at the business aspect of it, which will just chow you, which will like just chew you up and spit you out. And a lot of people are experiencing that at the moment. But the conversation is sort of veering that direction, you know, to look at the dangers of social media a lot more as well. So, for example, I don't have the capacity to post as often as I would like to. I don't have the capacity to engage with the medium as much as I'd like to. But so in that sense, like a lot of other acts, you know, other comedians who are younger, maybe they have the ability to engage with it a little bit more. and not specifically in the format of stand up. But that's cool because you develop, fans in, for other reasons, and people like you for you. And then I guess, when they see you perform, as long as you can actually do stand up comedy, a lot of people have fans online, and they think they have the ability to the performance of stand up comedy is not like performing on Instagram. It's different. Like it's very difficult sometimes to do stand up on Instagram. It's also very difficult to do the what's Instagram funny and then do it live, because it's different.
Yeah.
And just if people get that understanding, then it's just different skills and different genres and different platforms that you can master. So I definitely recognize the benefit of it. It's just I'm a bit like, I wish I could do it more, maybe, and at the same time I don't wish I could do it more. I'm confused about it, but I'd like to do it in a balanced way, in a sustainable way, and in a way that I enjoy. When you get to a certain age, you know what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you're willing to try a whole lot of things. Because you don't know what you hate. But as you get older, you go, I can't do that anymore. I can't. I just need to do what I'm interested in, what I'm focused on. And you realize, if you do what you love, it's not work. So unfortunately, the pandemic has resulted in old fogies having to engage with media that or mediums that they didn't necessarily grow up in, and some people have more inclination to do that than others, because I know a lot of the guys who haven't done that have suffered a lot over the course of the pandemic. Everybody suffered, but definitely people who have been phenomenal acts live have completely sort of, almost lost everything over the course of the pandemic.
Yeah. And it's also you don't get that kind of energy, especially if you have high energy acts and that kind of stuff, you can't, that a lot of the times doesn't translate well. I want to, you mentioned your family, and I wanted to ask, a lot of your comedy, you talk about them and it's hilarious. But how do they react to that? I just want to say, my first time seeing you live, I think your first child was born. And you were making fun of this baby. And I've never forgotten that, because I was like, that is so hilarious. I've never heard someone make fun of a baby this much. And how have they reacted to that?
I think it's a mixed reaction. I think, a lot of the things that I say are true. So it's stuff that we talk about, we engage with on a daily basis. So even if I'm not joking about it while we're going through the stress of it, it is a real aspect of my life. So I have this long routine about how my wife doesn't like it when I chew close to her face, right? Because she's got a thing called misophonia, and people who have misophonia, they really can't, even if you're eating like a sophisticated person. Not even, right? But you can still hear eating when it's close to your face, right? And some people are overly sensitive to that. So my wife is one of the people who was very sensitive to it, right? So she doesn't like any of that, right? Or any of those things, right? But at the same time, right, she never puts a seatbelt on immediately when she gets in the car. So very often I'm driving, ding, 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 right? And she doesn't find the ting, ting, ting irritating. And I don't understand that, right? She finds the eating hugely catastrophic, but the ting, ting that's designed by engineers to be irritating, that's fine. Now, I turned this whole thing into a whole routine. It's one of my, the routines that everybody sort of loves. but it's based on an irritation that happens on a daily basis, right? So, so I think, especially with my wife, if I also talk about the issues that we have, a lot of, first of all, couples, they experience similar things, so they laugh at the shared experience. But at the same time, I also think I need to balance that in the sense that it should come across how much I care for them and love them
It does.
and appreciate them, even though I tend to complain about it, right? But it has to. I haven't solved it. I haven't solved it yet, because you can't just make cut. You can't. Like, it's just people. You can say, well, it's just jokes and the court jester, right? That bra was single, bro. Like, I never seen the court jester with the whole family. No, he was like a lonely dude making jokes constantly, right? So, as a family man, and the reason I make fun of my family is because I talk about what my life is.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, if I had time to read politics, if I had time to talk about a whole lot of other things, then I'd maybe talk about it. But I don't. I'm just busy with the kids and my wife constantly, right? So that's where the humor comes from. So it is. I think I haven't solved the equation or the conundrum, but I do recognize it needs to be balanced because, like, sometimes I guess it has. I have gone too far at times, where I'm going for the joke, but I don't realize it may be like making my wife or my kids a little bit uncomfortable, especially since my daughter's also becoming a teenager, so she's a little bit more sensitive than she used to be, and so I just got to be a bit aware of how to balance my jokes. Yeah.
But I mean, I suppose it's what makes it relatable as well. Like in your special, when you show the video of your wife not putting
With the
like
king
or your
thing.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like a lot of the things, like even the whole the adhan, the child making the call to prayer and all of that, and then showing the video
It was
of
so
that.
cute.
Yeah. So all of that I'm trying to extract truth from it. And the reason why I also do that is because when you talk about personal experience, it's very difficult for people to steal it and take your jokes.
Yeah.
So if you talk about things really from an authentic place, it's very difficult for people to co-opt your humor. Whereas if you talk about general things that everybody can sort of...
Yeah.
Or it's not that you can't talk about these things, it's just like what sets you apart. Like when in the beginning, there were so few comedians, everybody could talk about politics. And generally, like I would just be talking about Muslim stuff when I started and general Muslim things, and it would work fine. But now everybody's got like those jokes become stereotypes after a while, or they become hack, or they become things that you've heard over and over and over, right? It still tends to make the audiences laugh, but it doesn't necessarily make the comedian more memorable. So you go, that colored bra was funny, or that Muslim bra was funny, or that Indian dude was funny, right? But they don't know the person. And having the unique aspect of your life and personality communicated is sometimes better. But I think everybody is engaging with that on social media, and I understand that it's becoming just very obvious. But that's not how it was when we started.
And we're gonna talk about the movie soon, but I just wanted to ask, like, so now there's obviously been like a huge comedy boom in South Africa, and so what has your experience been like navigating through that as like a established comic? I mean, you and like Mark and all of those are like the OGs, and coming into
so weird that we're the OGs. Yeah, it's like it's strange because you have when we started, we didn't know this was a career. That's the primary difference. So whoever started in the old days did it for the love of the game, and now people engage with it because they see there's potential for money or fame or something. But when we did it, it was purely because we were slightly weird people who needed to do this strange thing, and derive some sort of insane, pleasure or appreciation of this weird art form. Writing a joke and performing it for the first time, it's almost my bliss, because the first time you don't know if it's going to work, and when you get to elicit that laugh and that release of endorphins the first time, right, based on something that you've thought of recently, it's a very, very enjoyable experience. The second time, it's okay. I've already made them laugh, right? I still like it, but it's not as good as the first time when you find something new, right? Seinfeld says it's like almost finding gold. It's like you find something that's just has so much value, because laughter is actually, I've grown to realize, it's a usually beneficial thing. For me, humor is my best medicine. Stand-up comedy is my best medicine. Writing a joke and performing it is my best medicine. I don't really care about laughter myself. I like you to laugh, and that's usually therapeutic for me. And being a OG is, I still feel the same, in the sense I just have sort of a little bit more control and an understanding of my art form. But the reality of when you are an artist and a performer, you constantly have to bring yourself down and almost recreate yourself. And that's part of the I think the torture that artists experience almost.
Yeah.
You never get there. You never sort of achieve what, this feeling that you of complete accomplishment and sort of comfort within yourself. Because I realized this when I saw Seinfeld, Chris Rock still going to the little comedy cellar, little comedy club. Very few, they can do arenas, 5, 6,000, 10,000 people. Very few art forms do people want to go back to the gritty beginnings, because a joke is fragile, and you need to almost connect with people in order to be very funny. You need to understand them, and that happens at the little comedy club. That's where the gym is, other performers, like Beyonce is not really ever going to necessarily want to go back to the little club, although she probably appreciates it. But she can, a person who is a musician can, survive for a long time with a hit. And there's so much more sort of longevity in a song than a routine.
Yeah. And I know
yeah.
But I've heard a lot of American comedians and stuff saying that they, established ones, that they struggle with when they become big, that people just laugh everything, so they don't know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And is that something that's does
I think that happens. They laugh initially, but I mean, you still got to be funny. They maybe give you a bit of a break up front, right? But you still got to be funny. If you don't bring the goods, you don't bring the goods. I don't find, I don't think comedy has that for it. I mean, you still got to bring the goods. And part of the nature of comedy is that you should die. You should have a bad experience on stage, because it's in that you get some growth and you get something new, and you find something new. So it is true that, people just initially laugh, because they just whipped up into a frenzy. But I've never had that much fame. So, for example, if you go like with Trevor can walk on stage now, and people just go, right? And they'll go Badole, right? I've never had that. Eddie Murphy, you know? Right? I've had Muslim crowds, even though they completely love me, right? It's just, right? They packed. Like I sell out more tickets than most comedians. Packed, but my audience is quiet. Right? Just because of the culture, you know? In Cape Town it's still better because, you know, the Cape Town Muslims still have a sense of humor. But you go to Johannesburg and Durban, bruh, it's quiet, dude. Like Durban, oh, Riaad, what? They will tell you after the show how much they enjoyed it. Like, oh, what a top show, Riaad. That is top show. Hey, what a top show. That show, tops, man. It was tops. I almost laughed, you know. It was so good. You know, like, and it's just, it's the nature of that. The culture of the audience. So I've also had a different experience with how audiences react. So I've never had that strange thing, but I do know that people do give you a bit of a break up front. But comedy is fragile. People are not going to give you, like, you can have the best comedy special one. If you come up with something that's like not as good, you know, people don't. People will let you know, and it's very fragile. That's my viewpoint of it. Yeah, but that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it exciting, and because it also follows the sentiment of the time. Like, for example, now you have the idea of wokeness entering into the realm of comedy. Now, wokeness is, people act like it's something new. It's something we experienced, coming from pre-apartheid to apartheid, right? So now all of a sudden the brown guys are entering the comedy arena, right? And all of a sudden the older white guys, they're doing the same type of racial jokes, right? That wasn't okay anymore. So, for example, when you do the stereotypical black accent, right? So for, even if you do Thabo Mbeki, and then Thabo Mbeki would be the stereotypical black accent, right? Now, at that time, the comedians, and especially the white comedians, weren't really aware how offensive that was, right? So that was now, and then through our experience, although South Africans, we engaged a lot with race and race differences and so on and so forth, it still was from a position of being more authentic and being aware of the power dynamic. So, for example, a black comedian or brown comedian would be able to caricature a white voice easier than a white comedian would be able to caricature a black or Indian voice, although that's still continued, right? But in that context of just emerging from apartheid, that would be more wrong than I say it is now, because we've emerged from that, and now we have had a period of time where, you know, people of different colors have had the opportunity to express themselves, although it's not like we haven't hit the utopia yet, but our voices have been heard, right? We have had opportunities, and then now, for example, it still exists that is difficult for a white person to engage with a black person joke, and rightly so. But it's always subtle. It's always nuanced. For example, males making certain types of jokes. So, for example, even as a husband, if I were to make certain jokes about my wife, even though they are true, if they sort of, you know, align with more of the traditional, stereotypical, you know, perception of women, then I'm almost like I have to be sensitive to also the message that I'm sending as well, you know. So it's the understanding how to communicate things in a funny way as based on the times and people being sensitive to who you pick on and how you make certain jokes, right, is louder now and more powerful now than ever before. And a lot of comedians are complaining about it. But I don't have I've never had that issue because I was always sensitive to how I say things because my audience was Muslim. So I always had to try and figure out a way to make you laugh without offending you. You know, so a lot of comedians coming out now, like now I can't just say what I want to say. Hey, dude, like I that's my MO. That's what I always had to do. So I don't think it's really different. It's just maybe bit more evident now.
So, okay, let's talk about new material. So what prompted you guys to revisit the story, like after what, 9 years?
Well, it was 7 years after the first one. But, it's only come out now, which is like 9 years. And I think we always wanted to do it. I had this idea of a story where Cassim is a comedian and everything that his father warned him about in the first film has sort of become part of Cassim's life. So, for example, the dark side of fame, the dark side of stand-up comedy, the more real issues and practical issues about, the life of an entertainer and performer. So essentially that's what it's about. The theme of the movie is personal ambition versus family responsibility. And to a certain extent, it's something that I engage with on a daily basis. And, so that's where the film came from. So I wrote the first draft of it like in 2016. Like I wrote it over 3 months. And it was finished, I think the 1st of Jan 2016. And then from then on, I gave it to Craig and Robbie, and Craig did his own sort of iteration of it. And it went through various sort of rewrites and further drafts. And eventually it got to the point that we decided to shoot it, And, I'm always very critical of movies, and the products that I make. But it's something that I think a lot of comedians and a lot of people will be able to relate to. So at the same time, the movie, I think we try to be a bit more, try to bring in a bit more physical comedy. So it's not like that, I think that there was almost a sort of a more, I don't know about the first film, the difference of it is the comedy wasn't as necessarily hard-hitting or in your face or commercial, but it did have a lot of heart, the first film. So we tried in the second film to also have the dramedy aspect. So you have comedy, but we want to make people laugh and we want to make them cry. So hopefully people, laugh at the right times. We don't want them to, laugh at the drama and cry at the jokes. But that was the aim of doing this. And, when you just have something in you and you write it, and whether it comes to with a movie, it's not like stand-up. Unfortunately, once you make it, there's so many aspects that have to come together in order to make a good product. It's not just like me doing stand-up where I have complete control. There's so many people involved, and I hope people enjoy the film. I've had some, the few people that have watched it, have enjoyed it. We've had a few screenings, but I will never. That was actually a long time ago, because that was before the pandemic. So I don't know how people engage with it now, and also, the fact that, movie theaters, right, aren't going to be as full as they have in the past. And watching it on the big screen is definitely the best way to watch the film. But it's a little bit sad that, we don't live in that era anymore. Um, but maybe if we can release it globally, we're also trying to do that, maybe having a global digital release, an event that people all over the world can watch it around the time of the theater release. Maybe that'll be a positive side of things. But we don't know yet. They haven't confirmed it yet, but soon, like, we may be announcing that.
So, and most of the original cast came back, didn't they?
Yes.
So
Yes,
that's also
we've
amazing.
got Joey Rasdeen, we've got Vincent Ibrahim, Denise is back, Zakia, Karishma, and also we have Skalk. Skalk Poseidon, he plays my opening act. He's on the road with us, and that was a lot of fun. Plays the sponsor, who, is a Lodium guy who is a chicken franchise owner, quite a wealthy individual, and he wants to sponsor the show, but he also wants to be part of the show. And it's part of, like, it's dramatized from some experience that I have had over the years. So a lot of these things are little nuggets that I've drawn from personal experience, sort of just collated it and put it in the form of the film.
I was gonna ask, I was like, how much of this is like real life to comedians on tour? Because just from watching the trailer, I'm like I know quite a bit of comedians. A lot of these things sound familiar.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's just more because it's a family film. So
Yeah.
it's a bit more watered
PG.
down than the reality. Yeah. But I mean, generally on my shows also, it's been like, it's always our lull thing. So people, even the comedians, when they come with me, it's like, it's a more family experience, because a lot of times, even at my shows, especially on tour, it's in town halls and things of that nature. So, they bring their kids and their babies, and so it's a full family affair. So a lot of comedians are going, "Oh, this is weird," especially my opening acts who come with, and they have to engage with, also being wary of the type of humor that they do, and so on and so forth.
But it's good also.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
Uh.
It's something that needs to be done, and I think nobody has done that, because it was based on a tour I did with Doctor's Orders, where I went all over the country, literally. And I don't think we were able to, bring out everything that we wanted to, but little aspects of it, came out. Some of it we had to remove. Experience that I had with a strange stalker lady did make the film.
Is that the Losha Cooper part?
Yeah, Losha played that very well. But that's based on a real experience. And we just incorporated all of that in the film.
So the first one was like quite a big hit. So like, were you surprised by that, or like?
Yes, I had no idea. Like, at that time, I was just flowing. Like, I was just going with opportunities. Like, you've seen the movie Yes Man.
Yes.
With Jim Carrey, right? So essentially, I was gonna be a doctor, right? I was gonna be a doctor. I just like doing stand-up comedy, but then I did stand-up comedy in the evenings. So in the day, I would do medicine, and at night I would do stand-up. And it's purely because I love stand-up. I didn't think that it would lead anywhere, right? And once I met Ronnie Aptierka at one of my stand-up comedy shows, and he was like, "Riaad, doctor comedian, it's an interesting story. We should develop a script." And I'm like, "I've got ward rounds tomorrow. What are you talking about?" So I was just engaged in the love of stand-up. And then he, through various, we got into contact with Craig Frymont. We started talking about my experience. And initially, the first script of material was about a doctor who also did stand up comedy. And we obviously removed the doctor aspect of it because boo hoo, he doesn't get to do stand up comedy. He has to settle for being like a lauded professional in a white coat that every Indian family worships. So we removed that and set it in a different setting.
Mm.
And but that took a number of years. The first film took 7 years before we actually decided to shoot it, and it was purely an organic process,
Mm.
just like nurturing something from time to time, and eventually it resulted in this film. And I was very surprised that it did well. We got 5 SAFTAs. I won the best actor.
Mm.
I didn't even know how to act, dude. Okay, like I didn't know I could act. Like, and a lot of my acting was based on reacting. The fact that Vincent Ibrahim was so good, the fact that
Mm.
he scared the heck out of me for real, right? Like when he was crapping me out, like I wasn't acting there. I was like, this bra looks serious. Like, doesn't he know that this is just a movie, right? So I had no idea, you know. And to a certain extent, with sequels, it's I don't think it ever, people expects it to live up to the original.
Mm.
I wanted this one to do so, like
Mm.
because I think in terms of the story, I think there are aspects to it that's more layered, but you can't control that, right?
Mm.
You can't control what captures the audience's imagination and attention. You can't.
Mm.
Like even I did this. That I just did a vaccination video a few months ago. Well, I was just talking about because I felt people, I didn't have informed consent. A lot
Mm.
of anxiety about vaccinations because of the misinformation out there. So I just spoke from the heart and tried to explain the history of vaccination, and it sort of went viral. And then I made a
Mm.
subsequent video which I thought was way better in terms of adding in some jokes and comedy and having it more. I went through a lot more editing and trying to get certain important ideas
Mm.
across, but it didn't do as well as the first video, right? Because of something intangible. Sometimes it's just
Yeah.
you fit into a sentiment that exists at the time. Uh, uh, you know, the how successful something is not always based on how good it is,
Mm.
and that's the
Yeah.
reality that you got to realize as an artist. So you just gotta, or as a performer, a person who tries to make like creative stuff, you don't
Mm.
really know what is just going to capture people's attention. But I hope people, I think people will definitely, we hope to make them laugh and cry, just like the first film.
But thank
That
you
that
again
makes
so
me
much for
happy.
joining.
Like if people can laugh and then at the end be walking out like that, like that
Love
makes
and
me,
cry.
yeah.
That was our interview with Riaad Moosa. You can catch him in new material, which is coming to cinemas on the 26th of November. In new material, much loved character Cassim, played by Riaad Moosa, continues to ply his trade as one of South Africa's few Muslim comedians while balancing the demands of a marriage, a young child, and living in a house with his aging parents. His father, Ibrahim, played by Vincent Ibrahim, has reluctantly accepted his son's chosen career for now, but it is still a simmering issue. While Kassim's career is going reasonably well, he mostly performs to Johannesburg Muslim audiences and yearns to expand his audience nationally and further hone his craft. Yusuf, played by Joey Razdin, his best friend and agent, plans a national tour, but is totally out of his depth. From the outset, the tour is beset with problems, from an overeager sponsored, played by Rajesh Gopi, who expects too much from the deal, to Kassim having to make tough decisions when international opportunities present themselves. This is exactly what Cassim wanted, or is it? The sequel of the smash hit film also stars Zakia Patel, Denise Newman, Kurt Skunad, and media personality Sashi Naidu. Um, I want to say, like, what I enjoyed about the first film and this one is that it's such a specific topic. Like, not only is it a
Mm,
story about a comedian, it's a story about a comedian in South Africa. Not only is it a story about a comedian in South Africa, it's a story about a Muslim comedian in Johannesburg. And it's like it's so specific, but it also feels very relatable. And
mm,
um and this is why I think that this is what I love about like South African movies, like movie, and I think that the first film really like took a turn in what South African movies could become, because it's like it's marketable and it's entertaining, but it's also specific to our audiences and telling the stories of like our intricate like communities. So if so new material comes to the big screen on the 26th of November. You can watch the first film on Netflix. And yeah, that was our chat with Riaad Moosa, the best. So Leanne, before we head off, what have you been crushing on this week?
um, I mean, obviously, a Christmas movie on Netflix.
Mm.
Love Hard. Love Hard came out,
Ah.
and I enjoyed it so much. It wasn't. It was predictable, but there were
Mm.
actually moments where I hard laughed. Like I laughed for a solid 5 minutes at the karaoke scene. No spoilers.
Oh
But
my
like
gosh, the
I don't
karaoke
know when
scene.
last I actually genuinely killed myself, like laughed. Sorry, bad, like, but
Mm.
yeah, laughed at a rom com, and I was like, so good. Um, and even like the name of it, I didn't get until the end because the
Yeah.
name has a meaning in the plot, but it's not explicit. And I was like, oh, that's so smart. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to see. I think the next one I'm looking forward to is Princess Switch 3. Uh, Vanessa Hudgens just doing the most. So yeah, that's what I'm crushing on at the moment. And you?
And me, well, I've I mean there's a few things, but like really Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. I've watched it so many times and I've watched all the I don't know, I hope I'm not
Fan
completely
theories?
spoiled for the movie, but I've seen all the like okay, not all obviously because there's like a million. But I've watched so many videos on YouTube, but those long 30-minute videos that where they analyze every scene and they tell you. So yeah, I hope I'm not completely spoiled. Like I hope it's something, and I do this to myself, and I know I shouldn't do it, but I'm just so burst, and I just love Spider Man so freaking much that I was like, I have to know, I have
What
to
does it
know.
mean?
Yeah, what does it mean, and what are the leaks that are out there, and what are the clues that have been given? Some of the stuff I'm quite sad about, but like yeah, as it goes, it goes. So I'm really excited for Spider-Man. And I was telling my nephew, I was like, I hope that I don't get disappointed because my hopes are so high. So I'm trying to temper my expectations and just, go in there's no way I'm blind now, but go in like kind of with like average hopes. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, very excited for Spider-Man. I also really loved the film Passing on Netflix. It's by Rebecca Hall and
Mm-hmm.
Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga. Freaking Ruth Negga is like an excellent actor. Like she's going to win an Oscar one day. In general, I think she was good in everything. She's good
Mm.
in like Preacher. She's good in Agents of Shield. Even when she guest stars and stuff, she's excellent in the role. But anyway, what is I saying? Ruth Negga. Yes, it's a film about two women who could pass for white in the 1920s, and one woman who chooses to live as a white woman, and one woman who chooses to live as a black woman. And they were friends at school, and then they reconnect, and it's just like they almost like mirrors of each other, but
Mm.
also they envy each other, and how that kind of like it becomes almost toxic like when it mixes together. um and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, so those are the two things I've been thinking about this week, like thinking with my whole head. So yeah. So thank you everybody for listening. If you've made it this far, like I always think of like those radio shows where it's like, if you made it this far in the recording, um, thank you so much for listening. Um, we'll be back in 2 weeks with amazing new guests and yeah, and a chat about what Skinner has been happening. We will see you then. The show is produced by me, Karen, and Rebecca Barches. The show is edited and engineered by Rebecca Barches. Our admin is done by Leanne Phillipson. Our logo was designed by Natifa Maroof. And the show was created in partnership with IGN Africa. If you like the show, tell everyone that you can, any way that you can. Keep up to date with our episodes by subscribing to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please rate and review the episodes on Apple Podcasts, as it helps others find the show. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another in-depth conversation with a pop culture lover. See you then.